Oh my God. Joy and pain. What a song. I don't know. Every time I hear that song, like, I don't know. And well, today is Sunday. Sunday fun day. It is Sunday fun day. And it is the 23rd. Sunday the 23rd. Oops, 2025. 10:45. I still haven't taken the picture of my ex. It's gonna be a year. Eating biscuits. Listening to sound bites. It's like they're revealing so much. And one have to ask ourselves, why now? Why now? Leaking so much shit. Listen to this guy.
One of the things that I learned from whistleblowers, from the cabal itself, is that they have to work within something they call the rules. And this is very, very important. The rules are a body of spiritual principles that they must follow in order to be allowed to exist. Now, what do I mean by allowed to exist? I mean that they are aware that there are benevolent forces that will prevent them from achieving their goals unless we give them permission to enslave us. Ultimately, the universe is intelligent, alive, and conscious, and it is benevolent. It is a benevolent consciousness. That consciousness does not allow the negative to succeed unless it is invited. So the cabal has made a...
Which is what I've always been saying. It is amazing to see, how great we are. I'm talking about humanity. I'm not talking about mankind, But with all the corruption 24/7, of course it was horrific. I'm willing to bet there was, especially in the 20th century, they already had the mind control weapons. I think that they already had them. But it was mainly drugs. And it was horrific, especially for, the poor people, especially for African Americans, that somehow they just, I don't know, they decided to sell crack in their own neighborhoods. And it's crazy how now, as I made people, crackheads, are very functional. Even the most famous and most functional was Marion Barry, the mayor of Washington, the District of Columbia being one of them devils the whites worship. They even got a temple right there in the Washington Monument. But nobody knows this. Nobody stop and say like, we're just good people. They try, 500 years to corrupt and convert to, to the white culture.
Science, a very elaborate science, out of studying these arcane, occult, magical principles that allow them to get away with what they do. So they have to put out everything that tells you who they are in music videos, in these Super Bowl halftime shows, the Grammy Awards ceremonies. They're out there showing you the truth. This is what people are going to have so much trouble with once disclosure happens, is that these people actually practice black magic, and they are very, very good at it.
They've been trying to open the gates of hell. Aleister Crowley, he was very vocal about it. He even bought this mansion right in front of the long neck monster and in England. And then he went to China, where he sacrificed his own daughter to Satan. And all the neighbors and the long neck monster, they kept saying it was horrific visions and horrific creatures. But it is a big spell, because people are like, oh no, they're okay. I don't know what people are really. I know maybe some are just, terrified, of mighty whitey. On another note, because this is all like sound bites. Sound bites with Brooke. That's to be a new talk show. This is, pretty interesting. I don't think it's just revenge, because they dismiss it a lot. Oh, this is all revenge of the Oompa Loompa.
Deep State hit list sparks midnight manhunt as FBI director goes rogue. 6 hours into his tenure, FBI Director Kash Patel deployed SWAT teams to raid the homes of 3 Pentagon officials named in his explosive Deep State eradication protocol. Surveillance footage captures a 4-star general shredding documents at 2:17 a.m. before attempting to flee via private jet to Dubai. This isn't cleanup, it's regime change, Patel declared during a live-streamed 3 a.m. operation targeting a CIA safe house in Virginia, where agents reportedly seized servers linked to encrypted White House communications. The list allegedly implicates officials accused of manipulating COVID origins intelligence and sabotaging 2020 election litigation. Leaked flight logs reveal 11 D.C. staffers urgently relocating to non-extradition countries. The White House declined to confirm whether President Biden is named in the dossier, fueling speculation of high-level complicity. Breaking 9:15 p.m. ET. 2 former intelligence chiefs boarded a yacht near Malta hours before Interpol issued red notices. Is this constitutional accountability or a dangerous power grab? Sound off below.
It's hard to believe, but the first thing the mind came out with, it was like, It cannot get any worse than already is. I mean, about the United slaves. I don't know. I think it can get a lot worse. I mean, white is white. You know, I want to get excited. I want to be like, especially for the children. But you know, once they talk to Orange, you know, and he's gonna be like, "Oh, I know what you're doing." You know, it is because, and this is what, it's not my theory. It's you know, the African masters theory, which is extremely well substantiated. You know, it's survival. Survival is something we don't understand. Like my ancestors, nobody understand this. Like a survival. Surviving what? Survival what? You know, but they got this chip, and it's just like, and that's what they're all about. You know, survival, and they committing the most horrific, heinous crimes in the name of survival. You know, they got this narrative right now that they got nowhere to go. Poor things got nowhere to go because everywhere in the planet now there's just like brownies and blackies, and you know how they talk. You know, and I really don't know where this shit is going. You know, I mean, of course I do get excited. You know, I mean, this is like like a cesspool that is, you know, getting open for the first time. And you know, but they got white privilege. They got white privilege. He's about to audit Fort Knox. He's about to audit Fort Knox, and what he gonna say? Oh, it wasn't me. It wasn't me. Even when all that gold disappeared to preserve, you know, white privilege. You know, there's another clip. They were talking about Zuckerberg Island. You know, he got an island. And I don't know, they don't know how deep, you know, the bunker, it's not a bunker, it's like a city underneath. And they all have islands and whatnot, you know, in the name of white privilege. Oh, here they have a soundbite. It was documented. They stole the gold at Fort Knox long time ago. I didn't hear about it. I mean, I just know, you know, like the teachings of the Honorable Malcolm X. You know, he never lied. He always was warning humanity against the blue-eyed devil.
So just how did the story of the Fort Knox gold? It all started with an article in a New York periodical in 1974. The article charged that the Rockefeller family was manipulating the Federal Reserve to sell off Fort Knox gold at bargain basement prices to anonymous European speculators. 3 days later, the anonymous source of the story, Louise Auchincloss Boyer, mysteriously fell to her death from the window of her 10th floor apartment in New York.
So, I mean, this is what I talk about every day. You know, how white privilege is made up. Here's one of the recipes.
How would Mrs. Boyer have known of the Rockefeller connection to the Fort Knox gold heist? She was the longtime secretary of Nelson Rockefeller. For the next 14 years, this man, Ed Durrell, a wealthy Ohio industrialist, devoted himself to a quest for the truth concerning the Fort Knox gold.
This Obama tablet now, it's freezing out. Let's see if I can get it out.
Himself to a quest for the truth concerning the Fort Knox gold. He wrote thousands of letters to over 1,000 government and banking officials, trying to find out how much gold was really left and where the rest of it had gone.
Edith Roosevelt, the granddaughter of President Teddy Roosevelt, questioned the actions of the government in a March 1975 edition of the New Hampshire Sunday News.
Allegations of missing gold from our Fort Knox vaults are being widely discussed in European financial circles. But what is puzzling is that the administration is not hastening to demonstrate conclusively that there is no cause for concern over our gold treasure, if indeed it is in a position to do so.
Unfortunately, Ed Durrell never did accomplish his primary goal, a full audit of the gold reserves in Fort Knox. It's incredible that the world's greatest treasure has had little accounting or auditing. This gold belonged to the American people, not the Federal Reserve and their foreign owners. One thing is certain, the government could blow all of this speculation away.
Well, the people was watching soap operas and football. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. But
In a few days, with a well-publicized audit under the searing lights of media cameras, it has chosen not to do so. One must conclude that they are afraid of the truth such an audit would reveal. What is the government so afraid of? Here's the answer. When President Ronald Reagan took office in 1981, his conservative friends urged him to study the feasibility of returning to a gold standard as the only way to curb government spending. It sounded like a reasonable alternative, so President Reagan appointed a group of men called the Gold Commission to study the situation and report back to Congress. What Reagan's Gold Commission reported back to Congress in 1982 was the following shocking revelation concerning gold. The U.S. Treasury owned no gold at all. All the gold that was left in Fort Knox was now owned by the Federal Reserve, a group of private bankers, as collateral against the national debt. The truth of the matter is that never before has so much money been stolen from the hands of the general public and put into the hands of a small group of private investors, the money changers.
If you look at obstetrics for the...
and it don't really matter. I mean, I can spend the whole day, a whole afternoon, and one after another of the horrific things, you know, white people been doing. You know, I mean, let's just say this decade, only this decade, horrific. I mean, like mainly, I mean, the most has been crimes perpetrated against Mother Africa and Latino America, which nobody give a damn about it, and not even us, Latino Americans. So it's crazy. Okay, so let's listen to this one.
Last 50 years, what do you find? In the 1930s, they were giving x-rays on every pregnant woman to measure her pelvis. And then in the 1940s, they discovered...
There you go. White people again and again. And
that caused the baby to have cancer. So they had to stop it. And then in the 1950s and 60s, they had another drug called thalidomide, which caused babies to be born without arms and legs. And then they had to stop that. But you see, in every case, it was after the fact. In the 1990s, they were giving Cytotec to induce labor in women who had had a previous cesarean. And they ended up with hundreds and hundreds of ruptured uteruses and many, many, many dead babies before they found out finally in 1999 that they shouldn't do that. But you see, there's not a good history in obstetric practice of careful...
yeah, what a coincidence, right? They got, at the same time, they got a depopulation.
Study of the long-term effects of all these interventions. This is why
they got massive sterilization campaigns throughout the planet.
if you really want a humanized birth, the best thing to do is to get the hell out of the hospital.
You think? You think?
You know, if you get into peanut butter, you know, they'll...
It's like everywhere now, talking about peanut butter. Everything is poisoned. Everything is poisoned. You know, I remember like, you know, through the 90s, you know, I left 1989, and, you know, soon after I saw this craze of, you know, natural, organic, and whatnot. You know, I first arrived in Chicago, and they had like, you know, health food stores everywhere. And then I think after a couple of years, they just became prostituted with, you know, junk food. You know, how did Trader Joe began? You know, selling affordable, organic shit. And now if you go to Trader Joe's, at least in New York City, because I did get to go one time to California, and it was like another bowl of wax, you know, it's like, but in New York City, it's like sugar, cereal, sugar this, sugar that, and they have like very, very few selections. I ended up just going there for, you know, to buy, you know, organic apples. And what else I bought? I forgot. They used to have wasabi, seaweed. It was delicious. You know, my ex was obsessing about it. And then they disappear overnight. And I keep telling you, they don't have it no more. They don't have it no more. You know, like, they just have the plain. They didn't have nothing for like a year. I don't know. But I don't know. Oof. Like, no matter what, and that's gotta be. This is the great opportunity that we got with AI. You know, all we gotta do is ask AI. You know, is it the whites, you know, perpetrating, you know, mass genocide, food genocide, water genocide, you know? And let's see what it said. Let's see what it said, you know. No wonder the whites, they don't want us to talk about race. They don't want us to talk about, you know, accountability. And they're like, you know, immediately you get a strike or something. I'm surprised. I only got one strike so far on this bitch. What is it like? Peanuts have copper in them. Oh, that's why people are allergic to peanuts, because of the shot. The shot. Hot shot. Oh my god. It's just it's like, oh my god, it's so horrible. It is so horrible. Yeah, I mean, like, it is getting to whatever. I'm ready to move on anyway. You know, like you say, 2 strikes and I'm out. Whatever. I have 1 million channels. You know, that's just the way it is. Okay, I was just suggested this about Coca-Cola and one of their brands, Simply Orange, I forgot what it's like. And I mean, they're getting sued because they found a lot of poisons. Everybody's gonna get sued for that matter.
Simply Orange is owned by Coca-Cola, and here's what they just got caught doing. Now you may think with the slick branding that this is just simply orange juice, and it's not from concentrate, so that's good, right? The problem is oranges are on the dirty dozen, which means they're part of the 12 fruits and vegetables that are the most sprayed with pesticides and herbicides. So right off the bat, since it's not organic, you're getting doses of chemicals, pesticides. But that's not what this controversy is about. And it's not about the synthetic vitamins that they put in here either. Coca-Cola, the parent company, has now been sued because of high levels of toxic forever chemicals that are found in simply orange juice. Forever chemicals, also known as PFAS chemicals, is basically what's used to coat a nonstick pan, which we know there's many documentaries about the extreme damaging effects of these chemicals on the human body. So my guess is that their entire factory uses Teflon nonstick material, and that's how hundreds of times, look at this, hundreds of times above federal limits for drinking water. So they're getting sued because they say, made simply orange, it's just simply oranges, and yet it has hundreds of times of a neurotoxic, DNA damaging chemical in it. Let me know in the comments if
I've been trying to tell you all along, but you never listen.
Now you know why they coined that term friendly fire. It's just, it make it sound cute. And they sell the shit in white neighborhoods too. But, they don't care. At this point, they don't care. Like their own children, their own parents, just friendly fire, casualties. And they always disclose in a manner that, that was the past. It's over. Over and over again, they keep saying, this is Bill Clinton.
Thousands of government-sponsored experiments did take place at hospitals, universities, and military bases around our nation. The goal was to understand the effects of radiation exposure on the human body.
DARPA's Project Pandora, which started in the mid-60s and involved, guess what? Beaming monkeys with radar. And not just to put them to sleep. But the findings of that and the effects on the central nervous system, those kinds of things, those are still classified to this day. And another big clue, I think, in this vein, also found in the testimony, comes from newly appointed CIA Director Admiral Stansfield Turner, who repeated, both in his written statement and in his live testimony, the line, "I assure you that the CIA is in no way engaged in either witting or unwitting testing of drugs today." It might have been his entire job to show up at that testimony to make sure and say that line on record, which he did twice. No one ever followed up on the electromagnetic radiation experiments. And information regarding what certain extremely low frequencies did to monkeys in that Pandora project, like I said, still classified to this day. And every once in a little while, you'll see a tidbit of info come out. Things like this paper that came out in December 2013, which had to do with the Russian MK-Ultra twin program that was going on, where they talk about the biological effects of weak electromagnetic emissions and things like that. And in the paper itself, they note that in 1973, a Russian military unit 71592 established an installation radioson. They conducted pre-tests, and the positive results are reflected in the acts of tests of the military unit. And according to calculations in 1974, the generator radioson can effectively treat, quote unquote, a city of 100 square kilometers, plunging the inhabitants into a deep sleep at a distance of up to 55 kilometers away from the transmitter. They could put whole towns of people to sleep in the mid-70s.
Lovely. Wow, this is the first article I see on Mike Jeffries. How they put him behind Diddy the smoke screen. So, this guy just, this is like huge charges.
I'm outside a court in New York where Mike Jeffries, the former CEO of the global fashion empire Abercrombie & Fitch, has just been charged with running an international sex trafficking and prostitution business, along with his British partner, Matthew Smith, and their alleged
international sex trafficking. How many people serving life sentence for crossing state lines in the United States? This cracker is just, they're Teflon coated. But this shit never, I don't really care about this shit because who the hell go and audition and get themselves in extremely vulnerable situations? Their mothers should go to jail for not educating their children. Don't tell me that, I'll just I'm going to audition and I'm going to get the starring role, whatever. No, you don't get any starring role just like that. You got to do despicable things in order for you to get it. I was a waitress for like 20 years in the United States, and I saw biatches, you know, literally sucking dick, you know, to get the best station, the best section, to get their section seated every day, just for that. So that's why I saw it. I mean, come on, that's just for waiting tables, and it's so cutthroat. If you by mistake took somebody's table, that was it. You know.
James Jacobson. I've been investigating this story for 3 years now, speaking to young men who told me they pursued dreams of becoming fashion models, only to find themselves becoming victims of sexual exploitation. It was my investigation that led to the FBI looking into this, and was ultimately led to their arrests. Mike Jeffries, Matthew Smith, and James Jacobson deny any allegations of wrongdoing. If you want to hear about my investigation so far and what happens next, you can listen to my podcast, World of Secrets, The Abercrombie Guys.
Yeah, you cannot make this shit up. You know, African American women are like not crazy. Is the next one, the next one, the next one. I haven't seen this video in a long time. It's really good. It is a priest. You know, they start with a J, and she just very calm. She just like.
Oh, you're the Black Pope.
Oh, that started in the 19th century.
Did it really?
Yeah, but I don't like it because it's in terms of power, no?
Yeah.
So they thought that the general, the judges had a lot of power, but he wears black, so Black Pope.
Oh, maybe, well, yeah.
I'm not Pope,
and
but
you
I
don't
have
have
no power.
And I see that there's a lot of liberal symbols here. One of the things in your Jesuit high oath, I think it says something about, furthermore, you promise to declare that we'll, at the first opportunity, seek war at any opportunity against heretics, Protestants, liberals. See here? And that you will spare neither age nor sex nor condition, and I will hang, waste, boil, flays. You've never seen this before?
No, I've never seen it.
Strangle, bury alive, and it's horrible. And I was like, look, it's in the congressional record.
Thank you very much.
King Leopold's reign, 1885 to 1908. Belgians' exploitation of the Congo led to the deaths of 10 to 15 million people who were in forced labor, mutilation, and mass killings, including chopping of limbs. If you are in this room and you want to tell me that 1908 is so far, too long ago for you to remember the loss of 10 to 15 million African lives, why do we remember the First World War? I don't have time to go into the statistics of why people who look like most of you in this room are the highest population of imprisoned people in the world. Remember what Hegel says, the native is in everything but vice, an infant. So this criminalization of black identity explains why people panic when you walk into a shop. But some people were exiled, and others had their heads decapitated, including Chief Chingaira from Zimbabwe and others whose heads were taken to the British museums and remain there today, and the British say they can't return because their laws do not allow the return of human remains. As late as 1958, there were human zoos in Europe, in Belgium, and in Paris, where they kept black children in those zoos. The last one, 1958, and in Germany and in the United States. So not only were you economically disadvantaged, physically and psychologically punished, you were socially ostracized. They said black people, Africans, are dirty. And yet it is Africans and black people who were their nannies, looking after their children, feeding them, teaching them to walk, to talk, and to write. And they said you were lazy, and yet I do not recall any mine that sent thousands of white people under the mine in South Africa, in the Congo, or elsewhere. How did lazy people, for free, produce so much wealth that built the comfort for which our people are being asked to be grateful?
As soon as you and I...
It's like they're putting all the old classics. They're putting them all out. This one is from December 30th, 2009, with Dr. Rima Leibel, as she's fleeing.
As soon as you and I finish, I'm leaving the country again. Why? Because in a very short time, not today, not tomorrow, but very soon, we'll be facing compulsory vaccination under the mistaken term of voluntary vaccination.
Now, what is it about these vaccinations? You think that they're bad?
Well, first of all, let's start with the fact that the World Health Organization has decided that we have 90% too many people. The World Health Organization has been working since 1974 on vaccines to create permanent sterility.
Doctor, the response is going to be, you're crazy. How can you say this stuff?
I show them the documentation.
Now, this is pretty shocking.
This process has already been ongoing. To make matters worse, we know that the vaccines that were illegally approved by the FDA contain a substance called squalene.
Squiggly wiggly. Like,
people risk their life.
You totally forget, you know, about this thing. I mean, I forget. I forget that I'm a slave. Oh well. Whatever. I just started another one. This is talking about the maritime laws and how you know, the language still reflect you know, the origins of all this madness. You know, like they said, even childbirth is regulated by the maritime laws because, you know, the mother's water breaks.
Water is money. That's why they call it.
Don't look like Indians to me.
Water is money. That's why they call it currency. That's what the cash flow is all about. That's why you liquidate your assets. What's a bank? What's a riverbank? What's a riverbank do? A riverbank directs the flow of the currency. Just like the bank you go to. This is called maritime admiralty law, and until you understand this, you're not really going to fully grasp what is actually going on in this world. You are a traded commodity on the New York Stock Exchange. The QSIP number on your birth certificate is a searchable number. You are worth money to the international bank that bought you in the 1930s. In essence, it's not really a stock, but a trust. We are maritime admiralty products, and we are bought and sold on the high seas. After all, we're made up of over 2/3 water. This world operates under maritime admiralty law. There is law of the land, and there's a law of the water. They turned us into products under the maritime admiralty law of the water jurisdiction. That's why if you go to jail, they need to bail you out of jail. Think about this. All ships are considered female by law for some reason. She delivers the product in the everyday world to this day. And every time that she does so, she pulls into a harbor where they call it her berth. Every time an item comes off that ship, it is counted and they give it a certificate of manifest. This is why when your mother's water breaks, they give you a certificate of birth. And guess what? It's signed by the doctor because that's where the ship sits, on the dock. This is maritime admiralty law. Look into it, yo.
I know many of you are listening.
Yeah, but not all whites. Not all whites. It is just unbelievable. Every time I hear it, I'm like, and it's just legal mumbo jumbo, but you know, it is deadly. It is deadly because people don't know about it. They don't know about these maritime laws.
I just want you to know that from an African from Africa to an African American from America. I want to apologize to you direct that I'm sorry for how I treated you all these years that I lived here in your country. When you get shipped from Africa to America as an immigrant, America has these classes that your moms and shit have to take. You know what I'm saying? For us to get free government housing in America as an immigrant. You know what I'm saying? Like a foreign. And this is for all the people that come to America, all the people that be brought from other countries to America. They all have to go through this, all right? So this is what they do, man. This is what they do to every person that comes to the U.S. They have to watch a certain amount of hours of videos to learn about America, you know what I'm saying? To learn about America. And then they teach you about all the different races that live here. And one thing that they teach, one thing that they say in these videos is that they tell these foreign people is to stay away from African Americans. You know what I'm saying? These videos, these classes that we have to take to get like free housing through the government program coming fresh out of Africa to America for about 2 years. You know what I'm saying? 2 years they give you free housing, but through those 20 hours or 30 hours of classes you have to take, you know what I'm saying, to learn about America, that's one thing they do say. They say to stay away from African Americans. This is America telling us to stay away from you guys, African Americans. And they do that shit for other races too. We don't hate you because we want to hate you. No, we hate you because America taught us to hate you. You understand? You feel my drip? And they had translators, you know, to translate, the video into the language. You know what I'm saying? Low key, this is brainwashing. You know what I'm saying? This is sad and it's brainwashing. If you understand me. So I just want you to know that they're brainwashing us to what? To nothing. You know, we come to this country to have a better life, not to come be a part of some sort of type of secret society or to come here to be a slave. And that's really what it is. They bring you here just to be another slave like everybody else.
It's, it would be nice now to hear from African American women. They go through the same thing. That's why they despise their own men. They gotta apologize to the African American men because that's a requirement. You know, they get welfare, they get food stamps, they get Medicaid, they get whatever. A lot of attention from the government. All they gotta do is just, kick their men to the curb and talk shit against them. It is very depressing.
Chocolate Like Me, a class action lawsuit was just pushed forth against them by a judge, alleging numerous violations of consumer laws, including false advertising, safety hazard, design defect, and it's because they found significant levels of lead and cadmium in these products, and allegedly have known about this since 2014. Here were some of Lynn's defenses in court, so you know how a company thinks. First, they said, it's not false advertising, because we never said there's no lead, there's no cadmium in this product, to which the judge said, it doesn't matter, because you said all of these things, which would imply to a reasonable consumer that there would be no toxic heavy metals in this product. Well, in defense of all of this, Lynn said that is just inactionable puffery, meaning these are claims that are so exaggerated that no reasonable consumer would rely on them to buy a product, to which the court said, no, that is not true. A reasonable consumer would see this advertising and again expect a premium product and at the very least an absence of toxic metal. But then Lynn says, wait, nobody's actually proven to be injured directly from eating our chocolate, to which the court said, you don't have to wait to prove that someone got cancer from your chocolate in order to declare it a safety hazard, because the judge says a reasonable consumer would not have paid a premium for your product if they knew it had these metals in it, which is why the class action is going forward, asking for payment for anyone who bought this chocolate. I'll keep you updated on any settlement.
When you're looking for this glass, the simple...
There's nothing safe. Once they touch it, once they're Neanderthals, even if they're just like packaged, which a lot of times, over there you have packaged in Jersey, packaged like whatever. They don't even tell you where it come from. Ensemble in the US, blah 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 blah, blee blee blee.
Ordered the Justice Department to delete the police misconduct database, and they just did it. Trump just ordered the Justice Department to delete the police misconduct database, and they just fucking did it. Do you understand how the police misconduct database, right, is a federal database where the worst police officers who have committed the worst crimes, who have been, in America, police officers will commit a crime in one police department or one state and then go to another state and get hired. That's a thing. We know that. Okay. Federal police department database, misconduct database has always existed, right? That's for the worst versions of those guys, so that no police department ever will hire them again. Like the worst of the worst, the Nazis, the rapist, literally any police officer who forces himself upon a woman gets convicted, makes it to that list. Now that list is deleted, those same men, now that it's deleted today, those men can go and apply to jobs at any other police department, and they will get them. Ladies, maybe this needs to sink into white women. Those policemen that come when you're drunk and handcuff you when you're really drunk. In New York City, I remember the police officer that took that woman back home and forced himself into her. When he gets released now, because of what Trump did, he can get rehired in New Jersey. This is a special message. Aisha, if you're watching this, I'm serious. Whatever we had planned, we gotta accelerate that shit. We gotta leave this country.
And now what?
This is America.
Listen, there's no such thing as white privilege. There's no such thing, I've told him many times, get out of the United States, get out of the ghetto, because it's all a ghetto, all the 50 states, unbelievable.
Yeah, hey. January 15, 2019, I went to the doc and they said that your boy diabetic. Told me my levels, I try to control it. If not, then that thing could kill you if you let it. Stuck with me forever like it's embedded. Deep in my thoughts, but I stay level-headed. Had to do research, search for Google and YouTube. Even had to search on Reddit. I noticed some things that I'm about to name, and this is exactly how I figured out. Notice I had a dark neck, freaking urination. Anything I drink, I piss it out. Crazy cause I was always fatigued, and I had blurry vision indeed. Knew I would find a way and things would be okay, cause the method I took not for me. That's when I discovered fasting, right? Dabbled in the fasting life. Lost some weight, gained it right back. Guess I wasn't doing the fasting right. Fast forward a couple years later, different ways fasting done changed my life. Incorporated herbs, more water, more cold pressed juices. Really had to put down the Sprite. Incorporated more veggies. I added more juicy fruit to hydrate and help detoxify the belly. I worked out, went to the doc and got some blood work done. Told me the diabetes is gonna be put in work, son. A lot of people in this world that deal with it. I'm here to tell you can heal from it. I got proof. Cut out the refined sugar and eat fruits. Cut out the store-bought drinks and make juice.
Ever wondered why your great-grandmother kept dried elderberry in her pantry?
Of this is Nat Turner, a man who led one of the largest slave rebellions of his time. Turner was eventually caught, and he was flayed, and they used his skin to make a coin purse, while his bones were divided out as trophies to be passed down as heirlooms. And lastly, what was left of him was turned into grease. Slavers at the time described black people as seasoned, as all food should be, and more seasoned potentially meant more money when selling them at auctions. Slavery in its entirety was cannibalistic. They cannibalized their lives, their souls, and yes, even their bodies. My goal for this knowledge is to be used as a tool or a weapon to fight back against these narratives. The narratives that they were well-fed, had a roof over their head, or they didn't have it that bad. Because you will always have people like Bill O'Reilly in this clip that are trying to whitewash history.
Okay, we have another one. Mike Pompeo is in an interview. I mean, listen to.
I was the CIA director. We lied, we cheated, we stole. It was like we had entire training courses. It reminds you of the glory of the American experiment.
This book I have, it's called Earth is Not a Globe, Synthetic Astronomy, 1881.
Here is one of my bundles of joy. Happy, joy. Who that cutie pie? Who that cutie pie? It's not even like 3 months old. He's already growing and growing. He got chinky eyes. I think I'm gonna call him Zimba, right? Zimba? That cute pie, huh? He was a macho. He's wild. And he just sweet too. With me, he's just gonna come like, he's very smart. He knows the one, in charge of feeding him, right, Mister? Right, Mister? You're about to become a father. I'm gonna let him breathe, because the first time they get pregnant, the female kitties. They only got like 2 or 3. So we'll see. And she got a lot of psychological problems because they just dump her in the cemetery. And she get to be like neurotic at times.
at 8:46, while we're talking in front of the office, we hear an explosion very loud. Push us upwards. Upwards. All the walls shaked. They cracked. The false ceiling fell on top of us. The sprinkler system got activated. Water started spewing everywhere. Everybody screaming in horror. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God.
Now, was this a result from the plane hitting?
No. This is before the plane hit in town.
So this explosion
came from below. But the first thing that I thought it was that it came from the mechanical room that was on the basement number 2. I went to say, it may be when we hear all the way on the top of the building, and I speculated that it was the plane hitting the tower.
So these two explosions were completely separate.
Completely separate.
The official 9/11 story says hijacked jets brought down the towers, not explosive devices.
If you can remember, how much time would you say was between the two explosions?
6 or 7 seconds difference.
That close?
That close. And I wasn't the only one that felt this. There were the 14 people inside the office.
Did all you people tell this to the 9/11 Commission?
I testified for the 9/11 Commission behind closed doors.
Why behind closed doors?
Well, my speculation was that they didn't want the story to be out.
How does the last man out get left out of the 9/11 Commission report? We've definitely got the makings of a conspiracy.
Christopher, I say we're willing to sacrifice our ego, our reputation, and our lives. Yes, ma'am, and I love you, and I appreciate your patience. BlackRock's president, Ralph Capitol, dual citizenship with Israel, too.
Catherine Russell, the head of UNICEF, is married to Thomas Donnellan, who was the former national security advisor under the Barack Obama administration. He is also the chairman of BlackRock Investments. Catherine's brother-in-law, Mike Donnellan, is a political consultant who serves as the chief advisor to President Ben over Biden. BlackRock is the biggest investor in these 4 companies: Stormberger & Co., Ammo Inc., Vista Outdoors, and Smith & Wesson.
And so on. And only today, President Trump has announced that in his new administration, should he win this election, that Jamie Dimon will be his choice as Commerce Secretary, and that Larry Fink, the director of BlackRock, will run the Treasury Department. This is the swamp.
Difficulty, but we have to be at the forefront. It's going to happen. And if it's going to happen, we have to take the lead over China. China's the primary threat in terms of that. So they're going to close it. What are we going to do? Send over to China for tanks? Please send us. Please send us 200 tanks. We don't want to send you any tanks because we're going to kick your ass now.
Are you reading this? If you're listening, get ready. Secretary of State Blinken warns China against an armed attack on the Philippines. I sent this to Doc, and I said, Doc, you picked a fine time to go to the Philippines. The Secretary of State had to go there and make a statement to China and say, if you attack the Philippines, the United States will defend the Philippines. So I hope Doc and me will get home before this war breaks out. Do you see how hot things are right now? China and the Philippines have been going at it. China's been ramming Filipino military vessels in the sea. They're fighting over islands. The report from the New York Times says Secretary of State Antony Blinken warned China that an armed attack against the Philippine vessels in the South China Sea would trigger a mutual self-defense pact between Washington and Manila, a reflection of rising tensions in the region that risk dragging the United States into armed conflict with Beijing. New York Times has been a sign that the United States hopes to de-escalate the situation. Mr. Blinken, on a visit to Manila, gave no indication that recent Chinese provocations, which include ramming Philippine vessels and blasting them with water cannons, cross the threshold of armed attacks. He said, quote, the very visibility of those actions, I think, has provoked from a number of other countries clear statements in support of the Philippines and against those provocative actions that are a threat to peace, security, freedom of navigation, and basic rights under international law, said Secretary Blinken.
Ryan Balalo. I teach AP and Honors Economics in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Financial well-being to me is knowing that I can be stage and the crowd was cheering wildly. Everybody was happy. I moved my right hand to my ear, wrote it down. My hand was covered with blood. Just absolutely blood all over the place.
Ketchup.
Whatever you're going to have, the Jews will always control you.
What was that?
Everywhere you go in the world, who's running all the finance?
I moved my right hand to my ear, wrote it down. My hand was covered with blood. Just absolutely blood all over the place.
Yeah. Where? Not all whites.
Whatever you're going to have, the Jews will always control you. Everywhere you go in the world, who's running all the financial? Always the Jews. Started in power, Joseph, everyone. The Jews are in charge of the world. Science, financial, politics, behind the president. Even now, everybody knows.
Closest thing we have to Homo sapiens, which is this current form of evolution, the closest thing we have to Homo sapiens on planet Earth is black people, Africans, specifically West Africans. While white people, it's been found that every living single white person on Earth has Neanderthal DNA in them. So African scientists now flip the script on them, and then in the African community, if you notice, like, you gotta notice Neanderthal is a thing. So when that came out, African scientists were like, yo, how can you be out here calling us monkeys when we literally are the only pure Homo sapiens on Earth, and you are the literal monkey. You literally have monkey DNA in you, Neanderthal. So that kind of died down, and this white scientists were like, yeah, nah, this is an L we're not gonna take. So they went and came back with the ghost DNA. The ghost DNA, if you notice, it is like less than 10 years old. So white scientists came back and said, well, guess what, you Africans? You're not pure Homo sapiens either, because we found a ghost DNA in you that obviously we've not discovered before.
That's when Ghanaian scientists came out with their own, and they said, oh yes, you did find the ghost DNA. The ghost DNA is the next step of human evolution, and that's the reason you can only find it in us, because we're the only pure Homo sapiens, and when it's time to evolve, we will evolve to that ghost DNA, and you monkeys will remain as monkeys. So that's where the conversation ended, and the white scientists, if you notice, white people no longer use DNA and genes to do racism, because Africans showed them that we're the ones that are supposed to be here. They're Neanderthal.
They find out it's really usable, not only to live in, but militarily. But strangely enough, there's left in the world today an area as big as the United States that's never been seen by a human being. And that's beyond the pole on the other side of the South Pole from Middle America. And I think it's quite astonishing that there should be an area as big as that unexplored.
That's a tremendous challenge.
There's a lot of adventure left down at the bottom of the world.
What I'm saying is I don't believe the history we've been taught. Here's a good example. Have you ever heard about Lewis and Clark going across the Mississippi? In 1803, there was nothing there supposedly back in those days. Okay, so now think about that. So we're talking about 200 years ago, there was nothing west of the Mississippi as far as the America was concerned. Now talk about when these cities were founded and became cities like we know today. And explain to me how that makes even a lick of sense. Like, so how did Chicago go from like literally like a tent city in 1840 to Chicago like we know it by 1860? You think about all the central planning that would have took. Then you go like to a place like San Francisco. San Francisco like had 1,000 people in like 1840, and then there's a panoramic shot very famously, and it shows the whole city in 1873, and it's a full-grown city. There ain't one bit of construction happening right there.
He said with certainty that if we overthrew Saddam Hussein, democracy would sweep the region. He also advocated that we had regime change in Libya, Syria, and Iran. And he's still advocating that to this day. You must recognize that anyone advocating that America go fight another stupid catastrophic war in the Middle East is your enemy. They are our enemies. Anyone who advocates that. If they start talking to you about fighting a war with Iran, you treat them like an enemy that they are. They are not on your side. Our people do not want to fight any more wars in the Middle East, period.